Episode number 2. Do not watch this until you see episode number 1 because none of this will make any sense. Uh, to get episode number 1, click the subscribe button right now. And episode number 1 is more entertaining too. Having said that, doesn't mean we're not going to make episode number 2 fun. So let's move into it. Episode number 2, the secret of attaining freedom, power, wealth, and love. All 4 of those things. In episode number 1, are you still watching this without watching episode number 1? Stop it. Click the subscribe button, go back and watch episode number 1. It's the one right before this one. Okay, now that we've gotten rid of all of you guys that haven't seen episode number 1, in the first episode, we made it really, really clear that if you're trying to fall in love and stay in love without having finances, material, or health, money, as a base for the conditions around which love can flourish, it's not going to last and it's not going to happen. It may sound very pragmatic and cold and non-romantic, but it is practical reality. It is the way the universe works. And I'm going to support that, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a lot of examples that it's not just a gold digger thing, that it's not just a social construct. It's a universal thing. That's how the Tao works. That's what Taoism is about. It's about understanding the way the universe is and just us walking on our little part of the universe in harmony with the universe, in harmony with the path, the way the universe is unfolding. It's a universal thing. It's not a human construct, and it's been that way and it will always be that way. So the faster you understand it and get used to it, the faster you're going to get rich. Real simple. The faster you're going to fall in love, the faster you're going to get powerful, and the faster you're going to feel free. Okay? So let's build on this a little bit more deeply. If you're having trouble finding a soulmate, but the guy that's super rich can always seem to fall in love, this is why. And it's super easy to dismiss it and say, it's because of gold diggers. Nobody with any quality in their being or their character. Nobody worth falling in love with falls in love with someone just because they're rich. It's easy to say that and dismiss it to make yourself feel better. But the truth is, all the people that are worth falling in love with whom people stay in love, remain in love, and don't get divorced, they do that under the conditions of financial wealth and physical health. Those 2 things. The material aspect has to be there. When the material aspect is gone, so is the love. It just falls apart. Like I said in episode number 1, number 1 reason for divorce is finances. It's not because, hey, he likes classical music and I like punk rock. It's money. Okay. And again, I'm going to substantiate it and show you examples in nature, in the universe, where this is the rule. This is the way the universe rolls. Okay? So you can't have love without the physical abundance. What if you don't care about love? You just want money. Great, cool, that's fine too. You just want to be rich? Well, you can't have riches without having a bunch of action supporting that wealth. You can't. You can't just sit there and say, hey, I'm going to elect Yang and get my $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month ain't going to make you rich. What about Bernie? Is Bernie going to make me rich? No, he's not going to make you rich either. Well, why don't we just make everybody else poor then? Would that make you feel better? Well, it would make your ego feel better, right? We're talking about genuine, real, hard-earned wealth. I mean, the stuff that you can look at and be proud of and say, hey, I did this, MFer. That's what we're talking about. And you don't get that by getting handouts. You know what happens when you get handouts? Look at Saudi Arabia. Look at Dubai. They all have diabetes and they all have, they're all overweight. And why? Because the nation is so wealthy that everyone gets a handout. Everyone gets free money, so they get bored and they have nothing to do. So what they're doing is they're doing wheelies in the desert with diabetes. It's true. Look it up on your spare time. So in order to have abundance of physical wealth, you have to have an abundance, even greater abundance of action underneath it to create the environment wherein you can have stuff. And okay, now action. Action, to have action, you have to have power. To make action, you have to have power. So this is where people want power. If your goal isn't love, if your goal isn't money, you just want power, it's because you're frustrated in your life. It's because you can't seem to do any of those things that you really want to do. You can't seem to stay out late at night. You don't have the power to come home at 3 a.m. because someone will just chew your head off. You don't have the power to write your own passages, write your own prose in a screenplay because you're just the assistant screenwriter. You don't have the power to make your own dish because you're only the sous chef. You don't have the power to prescribe a medicine or even come up with a diagnosis, even though it's super clear as to what this patient is ailing from, because you're just the nurse, you're not the doctor. You don't have the power to do any of these things that you really want to do. You don't have the power to design the house that you want because you're just a draftsperson, you're not the architect. If power is what you want, then what's underneath power? Space. You need space. So let's start there. Let's start with space. I promised you at the onset of this video that I'm going to show you where in nature, where in the universe, all these rules appear. Why it is that in order to be in love, you have to have money and health. Why it is that in order for you to have money and health, you have to have a ton of action, which requires power, obviously, to act. And why it is that in order for you to have power, you need space. Well, we're going to start at space and then just gradually move up the chain. This you'll find fascinating as well. As we discuss this, go do a Google search. Just Chakra Man. CHAKRAMAN. Just Chakra Man. And print it out, put it on some wall so you stare at it the whole time. It's got Vedic, there are Vedic words at every chakra level. I'm not going to talk about chakras, what they are, but you're going to start to see a resounding, remarkable, astounding, and enlightening correspondence to what we're talking about, personal human growth, and this ancient Vedic drawing, this ancient Vedic picture of a man with flowers on different parts of his body. You'll start to see why. Print out the Chakra Man picture now as we gradually head towards, as we gradually converge towards these exact same concepts and tie them all together. But for now, space. If you want the ability to act or do anything, you need space to do it. You need the space to do it. In the universe, anything happens. There was a public TV show when I was growing up. 3, 2, 1, contact. Everything happens because contact. Or something like that is how the intro song went. And it's true. Everything happens because of contact. When two atoms collide, when egg and sperm cell collide when a man and a woman, or now a woman and a woman, or a man and a man, or a boy and a older man make eye contact, they fall in love. Everything happens because contact. But and contact is action. Contact is action. That's a second chakra activity. That's the domain of the second chakra. But for that to happen, for contact to happen, what has to happen? What has to exist prior to that? Well, in order for this guy and this guy to meet, there has to be space in between for them to traverse. Without the space, let's say there was no space, and you were already right next to each other. Well, aren't you already touching? No, because there's no space. Without space, you can't touch. Without space, there's no dimension. Without dimension, there's no movement. Does that make sense? Without space, even if you're right next to each other, you're not touching. Yeah, but you're right next to each other. Nope, you're not touching. Think about this. Without space, let's make it real simple. Here, I got a ruler here. I just happened to randomly have a ruler here. Here. Let's say you're here and you're right next to each other. Well, if you're going to touch each other, there's movement, there's measurable movement, even if it's 0.000000001 millimeter, there's movement, right? And now you touch. But let's say there is no space, there is no measure, there is none of that. Okay, now go from non-touch to touch. But I'm not allowed to move? That's right, because there's no dimension, there's no place through which to move. So that's all fine and dandy in theory, but what does that mean in your life? In your life, if you feel powerless, if you feel like, let's say you want to be a chef. You want the power to be a chef. You need the space to be able to exercise the power to be a chef. It sounds simple, but for some reason, you might even think you have the space. It's just like that ruler. You might even think you have the space to be able to go be a chef, but for some reason you're just not graduating culinary school. You're not even enrolling in culinary school. You haven't even looked up culinary schools in your city. Maybe it's not being a chef. Maybe it's being whatever it is you want to be. Maybe it's anything. But let's use the chef thing as an example. And in your life, you have people that tell you, hey, why would you want to be a chef? Chefs don't make any money. Chefs are fat. Chefs are ugly. Chefs smell like frying oil. In fact, chefs are just fry cooks with fancy European names. If you have people like this around you, and your inner deep down desire is to become a chef, do you really have the space to become a chef? Or is that space cluttered, littered with debris? Is it littered with toxic blockages? Psychological blockages. Maybe it's more subtle than that. Maybe it's people that just subtly make fun of chefs. They don't tell you directly, hey, you shouldn't be a chef because chefs don't make that much money and chefs have to work all night long, and it's maybe they don't ever say that, but just passive aggressively. They might, you go to a restaurant and you see a chef, they might just kind of look down at him and say, ah, poor guy. Look at him. Gets no respect from the staff, the waiters, the patron, the restaurateur, the owner, his sous chefs. Gets no respect. Just real subtle innuendos like that. Do you really have the space to pursue your dreams? Or is that space cluttered by negativity? Is that space cluttered with debris that blocks free and enthusiastic and energetic pursuit, action to attain your goals? You see how important space is? What if you want to be an actor? All day long, your parents say, hey, you need to get a real job. Actors don't make any money. You need a fallback plan. In fact, who was it? Was it Dido? I don't think it was Dido. I think it was another female high school girl. Ended up becoming a world famous singer-songwriter. And her mom said, hey, you can quit school. You can just go for it. She was in San Diego. Go for it, 100%. You can be a world famous singer-songwriter if that's what you want. And her mom said, you shouldn't have a fallback plan either, because if you have a fallback plan, you're going to fall back on it. Now that's freedom. If your parents say something like that, now you got some great parents. Do you see what I mean? Can you see the difference between having the space to be able to actually achieve your dreams and your goals? Without space, you're never going to be able to have that power. You could have the most powerful, you could have a 700 horsepower Lamborghini Aventador. And let's say it's in a parking lot. It's in a Costco, or even worse, a Walmart parking lot on Sunday afternoon. Lamborghini Aventador, 700 horsepower. So you're born with the best DNA in the world. You have the best potential in the world, but it's Sunday afternoon in a Walmart parking lot. How fast can you go? How far can you go? You can't. There's no space. There's cars everywhere. It's littered with space. Even the best cars with the best genetics, with best parents, with best everything, even if that's you, you need the space to be able to stretch your legs, to be able to run free. And psychologically, spiritually, mentally, the space to run free looks like wide open field with no negativity. If there's even one person that says, hey, you wanna do what? You wanna be a veterinarian? You wanna be an actor? You wanna be a writer? You wanna be a dancer? You wanna be a singer? That's dumb. That person is blocking your mental clarity. They are blocking your space. Cut them out. Just cut them out of your life. That's what you do. Yeah, but what if that's my mom? Even more. I'm sorry, but if that's your mom has so much access to you. Mom has so much. Now, what if you're 12 or 13? You can't cut your mom out when you're 12 or 13, right? Now you got a tough issue. Talk to your dad, talk to your grandpa, talk to your mom's mom, talk to your mom's dad. Do whatever you have to, politic. Do whatever you have to be able to free yourself from the constraints that mentally litter your path in life. How does the universe work? The universe is really, really merciless, vicious when it comes to space. Have you noticed that? The way the universe works, you've got a big planet here. You've got a massive planet here, and it just wants to just do its thing. It just wants to spin around its center, its sun, right? It just wants to spin around its sun. And if suddenly something gets in its way, let's say it's a comet or an asteroid or something, let's say something gets in its way, what's it do? This planet, it just bam, bashes it and just swallows it up. Comets flying through space, if it hits the Earth, as long as it's not bigger than the Earth will just swallow it right up as if it never existed. That's how you have to deal. That's nature for you. That's the way the universe works. That's how you have to deal with things that are impediments to your goals and dreams. Space. You need to be able to create the space within which you can flourish, blossom. Practice your power, then exercise your power. Look around your life. Take a moment. Just take one moment. Meditate. What would a meditation look like? How would you meditate to create space? Do you realize every time we use the term space here, we're talking about freedom? We're talking about liberty? Yeah, think about it. Freedom is the ability to do something unencumbered, unfettered, unrestrained. Freedom is the ability to act in a way that you would want without resistance. To do that, you have to have space. So what would a meditation look like? You don't even need any particular bodily positioning or posture or mudra. Mudras are these things. You don't need anything like that. You could just lay in bed and ask yourself, as you're laying in bed, what can I cut out that would free up space on my path to becoming a singer-songwriter, to becoming an actor, to becoming a doctor, to becoming a chef? Ask yourself that. What can I cut out of my life that would create space on my path to becoming blank, 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 whatever you want? Ask yourself that. And as you fall asleep, you will find the strangest answers. Sometimes they'll come to you in your dream. You'll find the strangest things that it could be your fiscus or hibiscus or whatever that plant is that you keep stressing about, that you have to water every day. It could be, there was actually a famous Buddhist monk who wrote a book about, I forget what kind of plant it was that was just shackling him, that was literally making him miss appointments because it needed to be watered every day. It was ruining his life. This plant was ruining his life. So it could be something as extraordinary and funny as that. But just ask yourself, when you're as calm as you can be, and as you're falling asleep, make that the last question that you think and pose to yourself as you fall asleep. That way you're posing it to your conscious self, and as you keep asking that question, repeat it over and over, you will be asking it of your subconscious self as well. When you do both of those things, the answer will come to you in dreams, and the answer will come to you the next morning as you're taking a shower or doing something mundane, maybe vacuuming. The answer will come to you and you'll realize, oh my goodness, I want to become a chef, but my engineering degree is what's preventing me, is what's shackling me, is what's blocking my path to become a chef. Because my parents spent $60,000 on my engineering master's degree, on my MS degree at Dartmouth, And if I become a chef now, they'll be so disappointed. You'll come up with really weird answers like that, but they're the truth. Those are the things that are stopping you from having the freedom to be whatever you want to be. And I'm sure you'll find some stranger answers too. Do this meditation, pose this question to yourself, and post it in the comments below as to what odd things you found that are actually limiting your freedom, that are blocking your path to the life that you've always dreamed of. In the next episode, since we're going one by one, we're going to cover what happens when you have freedom now. You're totally free. You have nobody guilt-tripping you into staying on this path that you don't want to live. Let's say you're an accountant. You don't want to be an accountant, or you're a dentist. You don't want to be a dental assistant, whatever. And you don't want that. And you've blocked all these people. You've cut all these people out, or negated all these people that guilt-trip you, or all these conditions that physically disable you from being able to pursue something. Let's say you've gotten rid of all that, but now you still don't have the power. You still don't have the ability to pursue your dreams. You don't feel bound to, you don't feel stuck as an accountant anymore. You feel like you can move on to becoming a singer-songwriter, guitarist, flamenco dancer. But for some reason, you just don't have the energy to go from accountant to flamenco dancer, singer-songwriter. Where do you get that power? Let's do that in the next episode. Power. The secret to gaining power. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and you'll get the next episode.